You're on. Y'all been on the whole time.
Oh.
Get the phone.
Well, you didn't tell us.
Yes, I did.
Then,
All right. Get the phones out of here.
I don't have any phone.
my phone's like on the couch.
Well, shoot. What's up, guys? Getting ready to break down the PGF bracket. 16-man sub only, no time limit. What do you guys think? We got a couple of changes.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing that we gotta do. I guess actually the first thing we need to do is give everybody a chance to kind of get in on the live chat, settle in, so we can speak to them and be friends with them. So it'll probably take just a second here. Let's talk about the season, like just how everything went through the season while everybody starts to filter in. Like, what are your thoughts? You feel like it was a success? Like, what are some things that went well that you expected to go? What are some things that were different or
Let you go
poor?
first.
Okay, so my only reservation for the whole thing when Brandon was coming up with this was I was scared that he wasn't going to get guys to be able to commit for the entire season.
Yeah.
And we did, there were a few guys that left early or, a couple of no-shows throughout, but it actually was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And I think, initially having those guys put a little skin in the game, they had to put a little deposit down in to keep their name on the bracket or in the on the roster. So I really think that was a good idea to, kind of keep them committed. But yeah, it worked out a lot better than I thought it was going to be. We didn't have a ton of no-shows one week and just, not much of a broadcast, but it worked out well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of times. Initially, my idea was I was not going to change the schedule at all. Whatever that is, can you kill that? It's Skaff's fun. It's Skaff's fun. But initially, I was going to be like, we're not going to change the bracket at all. We're not going to reschedule any games at not bracket, but reschedule any games at all. You're just going to get penalized for that. But as the season started up, you kind of started to see that there wasn't really a need to penalize the guys in the point standings, is what I felt like. So I took away that -5 pretty early, and just started trying to reschedule the games. I'm not going to do that next time though. There won't be any rescheduling of the games next time. You miss, you're out of there.
It's just such a it affects the players that don't get.
Yeah, man, it's not fair to everybody. So what's up, Jiu-Jitsu Bud in the chat? Kai Johnson in the chat. Bud says, please, please, please continue with this. Next, get different conferences from other areas. So yeah, that's what we hope to ultimately do, something like that. I don't know how that would work out. What did you think, Skaff? Like overall, were you happy with the way everything went?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it could have gone better for the first season. I mean, honestly, it ran pretty smoothly. There was a couple of guys that were inconsistent. A couple dropped out, and there was definitely 2 guys that I think they left the season early, and I think that really hurt some guys. And so I think there needs to be a penalty, maybe some type of even you got to put something on top, maybe like a retainer, like something there, kind of like you get a hotel room.
Like a deposit?
Yeah, deposit. There we go. And if you make it through the whole season, you get your deposit back. And if you don't, you get penalized. You don't get your money back. So maybe an extra $100 on top of that, okay, this extra money is going into the pot.
That's a cool
Just
idea.
because, again, I don't think for some of these guys, hey, I'm going to miss 8 games. Who cares? Some of these guys just kind of have that cavalier attitude. And I think that needs to be penalized. I do agree that the -5 points needs to be. I think that needs to be strict. Like, if you don't make it, it's -5, like, regardless of the circumstances, or whether it's something, crazy happened to you, or you just, hey, made a mistake on the schedule, didn't see your name and didn't show up. That happened once or twice. So I think those would be the 2 big things. I love the 7-3. I hope it continues with the 7-3. I love prioritizing chokes. I think it makes for an interesting season. I think it makes for an interesting strategy.
I think it makes for a more fun, and in my opinion, realistic representation of what we're trying to do by being jiu-jitsu athletes. Like, your incentive to be on the top and be in good position is much, much higher because you have to have good positions almost every time to end up with a choke. Other than like a guillotine or you snatch a darce in a scramble, you know, you got to be in position to take a rear naked choke. You got to be in position to take an arm triangle or a triangle, you know. So
yeah, and I think the season also highlighted some really good performances from white belts all the way up to the black belt. And we really only had one black belt by season's end. Everybody else, the other black belts dropped out. And I don't think that's that shocking. I think a lot of guys came in as black belts and they realized the grind was much harder than they thought it was going to be. And I think we saw some early dropout. Like I think black belts were probably the least consistent of everybody, which was surprising.
Except for when you take Caleb McAllister into the account of the black belts, because he's like the most consistent, most reliable, most dependent. He was coming from the farthest away, and I never had one question about him. Like there was never a wavering at all. No, there was never a wavering. Like he was 1,000,000,000% dependable. Everything I learned about Caleb throughout the season, I didn't know him coming in. But every single thing that I learned about him and every interaction I had with him through the season made me a bigger fan of him as an athlete and a person. Like, I was just super impressed with Caleb.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And he was coming from Virginia. He had a phenomenal season, finished first in his conference. And, man, he's coming off a big Zapatero win that I think really – is good momentum coming into Friday. And I think the biggest thing that I like, you know, because some people are going to go, oh, the 7-3 thing, you know, I don't get why the scoring is that different. But I love at the end of the season, everything counts the same. There's no overtimes. There's no points. There's no decisions. It's sub only, no time limit. So, yeah, we are going to find out who the best grappler that night is. We're going to find out Friday night. Somebody's going to have to submit 4 dudes, and they're going to be the first PGF champion.
You know, that's my favorite part of the whole rule set, actually, is that we have that kind of, I don't even want to say wild, but like a unique rule set with the 7 and the 3, the kills and the breaks. But then over here, there's no way, like the no time limit sub-only tournament, like there's no way really to game that at all. And so we just use that to pull the seeding and this to find the king, you know. I'm real happy with the way that it's turned out so far. Real happy. How's the stream looking, guys? I mean, is everything coming across? Well, you feeling good over there, Keelan? Yeah. Got Keelan behind the board. They need to see the Coke. We got to stop by and get some stuff from Frank Troop on Friday night. Don't let me forget. Let's go into the chat here for just a second. Yeah. Oh, Anthony, what's up, man? It's been awesome. Can't wait to see how y'all tweak it and fine-tune it to make it even better. We're going to do that. We're going to keep getting better, too. I feel like we're just now kind of getting the hang of it, especially on the production end. I feel like we're about to level up. What you guys see on Friday night is going to be a totally different experience than what you've been watching during the week on the PGF as far as the production value goes.
Yeah, I'm excited about the production. I think it's going to look really, really cool.
Yeah, and we've got when I'm telling you we got a great venue, it's a great venue. We got the full lighting, sound, video, production side under control. So it's going to be nice. Keelan's a genius. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Yeah, he is. He's working. Wallow says, put that Coke up in the middle of the camera. Yeah. TK said, the ability to apply pressure and drain stamina and win over times is an incentive to stay in a good position. I think that's a good point. Do you think that positioning is going to play a big role in the sub-only?
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. The guard doesn't matter as much. You know, we're going to find out which guys find a pace and an efficiency that's going to make them or is going to lead them to victory. Because if you don't have that pace and efficiency, everybody has a really, really tough.
Hey, Keelan, bump the volume right there.
Has a really, really tough path to victory, I think. I mean, I would say everyone other than Elijah. I think Elijah's got the easiest path, but all these other guys are going to need to really bring
Is
up
Elijah's
their best.
path the easiest, though, just because he's Elijah, or does he actually have easier opponents in front of him?
No, he's got the easiest opponents,
we'll get
especially
through that.
Styles. But
we're going to go through the bracket here in just a second, so we'll really dig into that.
Yeah,
Keep going.
people are going to need to really find the efficiency in their jiu-jitsu and a pace, because if they don't play a pace that they like, they're going to go out. And I think we could see some upsets because of, hey, man, we've done 20 games. This is really interesting because we've done 20 games. These guys are used to playing a certain pace. They're used to playing 6 minutes, going for the sub. Well, if you play that pace and somebody draws you into that 10, 15, especially 20 minutes, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. I mean, there's 2 or 3 guys I think that have elite cardio, but most of these guys have decent cardio, nothing to write home about. And I think those guys could really struggle if they get, drawn out, and if they're not thinking about positions especially.
Drew Foster, Drew Darce, he says he's really curious to see how long the tournament's going to take to play out. Me too.
I'm curious as well.
Yeah, I'm more than curious. I'm nervous. In that regard, though, I guess this would be a good time to have start making a couple of announcements. I think we got the people we want in here now. So, number one, speaking of the length of the tournament, we're adding stalling calls. Here's how it's going to work. I am the one that's going to make the stalling call. So during a stalling call, nothing will change during the match. The referee won't intervene at all. He'll just note that there's been a yellow card, a warning. So it's going to be one verbal warning. I'll call it in. Hey, however we decide to do that. Hey, ref. Yo, Chuck. Tell him that's his only warning. And then I hang up the commish phone, the bat phone.
These are like walkie-talkies, right?
It's a bat phone.
Okay, sorry.
So I call in, hey, stalling, tell him no more stalling. And then if I have to call again, Chuck just whips out the yellow card. But the match keeps going. If he's choosing to stall, he can choose to stall. But the match has to keep going. 2 yellow cards, and then the third one's a red, and he's out of there. It's a DQ. So
you get 2 warnings and then the red card.
So warning, yellow, red. Yellow. Yeah, I'm warning you before. I'm warning you before we start issuing these cards. I'm gonna give you a verbal warning.
Verbal warning.
Verbal.
2 yellows.
Yellow.
Then
Red.
DQ. Red is.
Red's out of there. Red's out of there. Yep. And it's all about stalling can happen in a lot of different ways. Like you can stall offensively. I want to say offensive. You can stall from top position. You can stall from bottom position. So a lot of different ways to stall. I'm not going to leave that in the hands of a referee. I'm not going to leave it in the hands of a booing crowd. Mm-hmm. It's my show. If somebody's got to take the heat for making a bad call, I'll do it. So I'm taking it's the Shao Kahn rule. Okay. I'm going to sit on my throne and look down. I would really like it if I had a throne and I sat behind them the whole time. We'll work on that for season 2. But I will call down
on the edge of the mat.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be on the edge of the mat, but I'm going to be watching the mat.
Lifeguard chair.
That's not a bad
idea.
idea.
Throw the cards down.
All right. So yeah, that's the idea on the stalling calls. So we'll see. I mentioned it to Skaff, and he went, and then I did it anyway. So I want to hear you kind of elaborate on your.
I just think there's so many different ways to interpret stalling, and it just brings controversy. I mean, anytime, let's say, we'll just use one of our students. Let's say Seth gets DQ'd for stalling. It just really leads, I think, kind of a bad taste in the competitor's mouth, and even the fans' mouth. You never want to see somebody get DQ'd. Now, I think especially adding it this late in the season, I think that was my big reserve. I think going in, if that was like always a thing, that was a part of the season, kind of like quintet. I mean, you see when the Japanese are calling stalling, I mean, it's very aggressive. I mean, they called stalling on Gordon Ryan when he was in mount and when he was on the back, and they started them back up standing, which I thought was crazy. But they said he wasn't moving enough. They said he was, I don't know. It was really bizarre. And anyways, but it's just part of, when you go into that rule set, it's part of
They're going to do something weird like that.
I would have liked to see it start probably season 2, but I totally understand.
I think there's a good breaking spot, though. Like, those were 6-minute matches we just had. Even if it's terribly stalled, it's just 6 minutes. You know?
There was a couple matches where guys this season would have gotten stalling calls. And
definitely, especially the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, especially the last couple of weeks. There's a couple of guys that really weren't moving too much. They were really just trying to get through their match without getting submitted. But yeah, that was my only reserve. Is again, it just brings an element of controversy if you have to use it. But at the same time, if you've got a match or a guy it's 40 minutes deep and he's just laying on his back in the fetal position, not moving, that ruins a show.
Or he's been turtled up, like some strategy to turtle up and not let anybody move him or something. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
Or he's stalling on the feet. Listen, I'm going to pull the trigger on the feet sometimes. Or people can stall when they're passing the guard by not like you see it all the time in tournaments, all the time. Guys are good at running the clock up and to their advantage and using the rules to their advantage. Well, here's the rule. I'm the rule. If I see that you're doing that, then you're gonna get the Shao Kahn rule. Yeah. So and like I said, man, like you said, yeah, it does add some controversy. Well, then I'll take the heat on it. And if somebody's got something to say about it, they can speak with me. That's no problem. I'm eager to take on criticism and to grow.
A lot of rule sets have added a stalling call, but many have been. I mean, I know EBI's messed with it, but even they were very hesitant to use it because I think of the fear of upsetting a high level competitor. They didn't want to, and so there'd be you'd be watching matches, and I remember thinking like, dude, like that guy deserves a yellow card, that guy, but they just never called it. And so it is one of those things. Like when you add stalling calls, I think it's better to be more aggressive than
less aggressive.
Less aggressive for sure. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna do what I think's right. Here's my major guiding rule for myself, not just for myself, like not just for the league, but for myself. Is I know that I'm trying to do the right thing, and so I'm just gonna do it, and I'll deal with the consequences of it later. And if it doesn't go well, then at least people will know that I was, doing my best work.
Yeah.
So I like to just pull the trigger sometimes. So that's what I'm going to do. What do you think, Lindsey?
I think that it's necessary with a no time limit, and it's definitely going to help speed things along. But just as long as the competitors are fully aware of, and you've kind of got an idea of what's going to be stalling. You've got it in your head, and you're not depending on someone else to interpret that. So that's good. And I like that you're not putting it in the hands of the refs. So it's just, your opinion of what stalling is going to be. So I think as long as that's communicated to the competitors and they know that coming in, then I think it'll be okay because of the change in the rule set, because I think it is like a break in what we've been doing. So I think it'll be okay.
I hear that criticism though, Skaff. It's not an invalid criticism. TK Studios says just equip the ref with a taser. Somebody said cattle prod already. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, it's Raul Uriarte. You remember him?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I ain't seen that dude in forever, man. What's going on? Yeah, he said get everybody a cattle prod. That'd stop it. I ain't seen old Raul. Has he been in the chat during the season and stuff, or is he just popping in because it's the daytime? Either way, good to hear from you, man. Hope things are going well. Let's talk about the bracket changes. Skaff, you want to?
Oh, yeah, sure. So we had 2 dropouts, and we got Josh Daddario stepping in for Jeremy Geiger. So Jeremy Geiger had to pull out for work-related reasons, and Josh is going to step in. And I think that definitely helps Elijah, Josh being 40 pounds smaller than Jeremy Geiger.
Yeah.
That's a real tough matchup for Josh stepping in for Elijah, but that's what you get as the number 8 seed. On the other side of the bracket, we've got Blake Randall stepping in. So, unfortunately, Moises got injured. So, Moises got injured the last week of the season, suffered a knee injury in that match against Jonathan Roberts. So, he had to pull. He just can't compete. And we all know, I mean, Moises he's got that MMA fighter mentality. He brought it every single match of the season. He's as tough as nails. So, I'm sure, man, that knee must really be bothering him. So he drops out. Blake Randall steps in. That messes up the entire right side of the bracket. So all the matchups are different. So if you did fill out a bracket, you need to go back and rethink this because Blake Randall steps in to face Caleb McAllister. And that's a really fun matchup. And I was saying on my podcast a couple of days ago, check it out. I did a PGF bracket breakdown where you can hear my picks like in depth. But I wanted to see Blake in the tournament. I thought he deserved to be in the tournament. He was one of my guys. Like, man, I really thought he had a great season, and I'd love to see him.
He's a fan favorite too, man.
Yes, And so him versus Caleb is going to be a fun match. And that match is going to, especially that match is not going 10 minutes. I mean, Blake's going to come in and go as hard as he can at Caleb, and we'll see what happens.
Someone said that we should have put in Manscaped mic for Geiger. Why don't we tell him how it worked?
Oh, yeah. So we didn't replace. It's just if you finished 8th and you're out, then we bring in the 9th place guy to take your spot. So everybody's just shifting up. That's why the bracket's changing on the right side. If we just inserted, listen, that would be easier for me, and that's why I was laughing at you earlier, because you were like, oh no, it changes my bracket. I was like, oh yeah, let's change the entire integrity of the tournament for your bracket. But I was like, ooh, it sure would be easier for me to just replace Moises with Blake. But that kind of it changed. Why do the seeding at all if you're just gonna do that? So if somebody, in this case, the number 4 seed on the right side pulls out, then everybody's going to shift up. The four becomes the 3, all that. So I'm trying to get this shared into the group, but I can't get it going. So I'm just going to stop. Second wave, excuse me.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the bracket now. So we've talked about the changes. First matchup of the night. So starting at 5 p.m. on Friday, first matchup's Elijah versus Josh Daddario.
Yep.
And no chance. Just no offense. Love Josh. He's one of our students.
Josh is my boy.
But there's just no chance. Elijah's bigger, stronger, 20 for 20.
Yeah, it's tough to see a way that he can win the match. A lot of times you think, oh, man, if he get in on a leg, anybody. Josh is a skilled leg locker, but Elijah's a more skilled leg locker. And he's
Yeah, and it's all about experience, and it's going to be something in the future because no doubt in my mind in 5 years, Elijah is going to be a nationally known competitor. And Josh can say, hey, I was in a tournament and as a blue belt, I got the opportunity to face him in a sub-only no time limit match. And it doesn't get much scarier than that. So Josh is going to leave this going, it doesn't get much worse than my first match in a pro tournament against Elijah Carlton. Guy outweighs me by 40 pounds. Guy's one of the best guys in the Southeast. Like, it's going to give him confidence to just, it doesn't get much worse than this. I'll face anybody. I've already faced Elijah, so especially bring me on a black belt my size, I'll take him on. So
that's one of the ideas of the tournament in the first place, was to develop a consistent and I guess higher profile, a little extra pressure way of competing for all of the local guys, like really push the development of the competition spirit in the area. And I really feel like the season's been a success in that regard. So Josh, yeah, he's going to have a whole new outlook on future tournaments. A guy like Dallas, Dallas had never even competed coming into this. And he's like, I'm a whole new, he was saying this, he's like, I'm a whole new grappler than I was when the season started.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so when did you guys know Elijah was going to have a special season? Like, when did it really hit?
I thought he was going to, when I contacted him about doing it, he's the first person I contacted about doing it because I knew he would say yes. He did the River City Pro with us, and he said then, anything that you do, I want to be a part of it. So when I said, well, I'm going to do this, I shot him a message. He said yes right away, and I thought probably just based on who I thought I was going to get, I thought he was going to win it at that time. So he's been kind of the number one seed in my heart since the beginning, and I think it's great because he's a heel. He's our bad guy. He gets the red light.
Yeah. What about you, Lindsey?
When did I know that Elijah was going to have a good season?
Yeah, like when did it hit you that he was just probably a step above? It looked like he was a step above.
It would probably have to be after that first night. I knew that he was a really good competitor, but I never really. Well, he beat Cole Miller was that the River City Pro?
Mm-hmm. At the final.
So, yeah, I guess I thought, I hadn't seen him compete a whole lot, but I had seen him in competition, and I was not expecting him to beat Cole at that point. So, after that first night, I was like, okay, yeah.
He's the man.
he's putting these guys away. So I think that was probably when it was for me.
Yeah, and I had coming in, knowing most of the guys, I had Nilo as the second best guy preseason. And Elijah, the first night, beat him in 45 seconds. Goes out there, beats Nilo in 45 seconds. Beautiful triangle setup. Has to settle for the break. Gets 3 points, but, man, he gets him in that triangle and just so quick. And then he went against Matt Elkins that same night, who, in my opinion, was also top 5. You know, I had him. I think preseason it was Hodger. We had Hodger, Matt Elkins.
We still had Cody Floyd.
And Cody Floyd. That was the top 5.
We still had Ridge.
That was the top 5. The Ridge was just on the outside. And so he was facing 2 of the top 5 guys and beat them both in combined time under 2 minutes. I believe it was like a minute and a half. Same move, triangle, you know. It popped them both with the same setup. And after those 2 matches, I looked at the rest of the schedule, and I was like, he's going to go 20 for 20. And he had some adversity. And we're going to talk about that adversity, but he did 20 for 20 and really established himself as the number 1 guy. But, guys, biggest question is the shoulder and the cardio of Elijah Carlton. How can he lose?
I mean, he can lose by somebody dragging him into the deep water. That's what I think. And if I were in this tournament, that's it. I mean, that's 100% what I would have on my mind. I would have Elijah on my mind. Say I was Kevin over here on the bottom, the opposite side of the bracket, the total opposite. I would have Elijah on, if I thought I was going to win, and I believed that I was good, I would have Elijah on my mind from the minute I stepped on the mat against my first opponent. And I would be beating these guys to get ready for Elijah. Like, I know you're not supposed to look past, hey, don't look past it. Okay, I get that. That's all fine and good. But if you don't have some kind of strategy for the long term, then it's not going to matter if you beat this guy. If you sell everything, if Kevin sells everything out to try to finish Clay, and then it's a tournament that affects rounds 2, 3, and 4 now. You know, so you can't just spend everything. You have to strategize for Elijah if you're planning on winning the thing, because you're gonna have to go through Elijah to win, right? And I would be planning on dragging him into the deep water, and as he did his matches, I would be screaming for the guy to take him as long as he can.
Yeah, I think Joe Kai, it's funny. I mean, they're on the opposite sides of the bracket, but Joe Kai is a guy that's a really bad matchup right now for Elijah. I just think Joe's very difficult to get a hold of. Joe's pace, Joe's ability to fight grips, and the understanding of what grips are dangerous. And so if Elijah grabs Joe, he knows that, hey, this is a meaningful grip, and he's going to pop it off. And he's going to stay on the outside. He's going to stay in his range. And I think he could really take Elijah into those deep waters. And so I think there's a couple competitors like that, Joe being a really obvious one to me that might not be so obvious.
I think
to
he's
some
probably
of you
the primary example of that, honestly. Like, I think Kevin and Caleb have that ability as well. But I think they're going to accept Elijah's game more readily. Like, you think about, where does Kevin do his best work? Closed guard, on top of you. Where does Elijah do his best work? Bottom guard. You know, closed guard, very good. He tapped me with a triangle from the closed guard the other day while we were training. One arm Elijah did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not getting caught in a lot of triangles out there. But
you think Caleb will accept Elijah's
he's
game?
more likely to do so than Joe is. I don't think Joe will accept any grip that he made a great observation about it being about the grips early. In that particular case, especially, Joe's probably the best grip fighter in our gym. Just, I do not accept how you put your hands on. I don't accept that part of the game. We only play my game or we play no game. That's what Joe does. Look, it's like Mike Moore was talking about when we're either going to play my game or we're not going to play a game, you know. And Joe will just run circles around you until you agree to do what he said. And like, okay, fine. I guess I'll just have to try to beat you at your game.
Yeah, and Joe's got good stand-up. Joe's got the ability to not just sit to his butt, and accept
Good
bottom
outside
position
passing.
against Elijah. Because we've seen now guys that sit in front of Elijah, his passing, he's just cutting right through dudes. You know, you think about that match with Jonathan Roberts. You know, Jonathan sits like he did all season. He sat all 20 matches. One of the only guys that sat every single match. I think he might have been the only guy that sat guard
What
every
about
single
Nilo?
match.
He wrestled some?
Nilo wrestled some from his feet, but Jonathan was the only dude that sat every single match. And I'm going to play on the outside. I'm going to play on the outside, get you tired. If I can get you to that 10-minute mark, especially that 10-minute mark, things are going to start to look much more favorable towards my path of victory is going to look much more favorable.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to depend on, because you guys are talking about the final, right? But I think round 3 is really going to be very important because he's going to have to face probably either Nilo or Matt Elkins in round 3. And so I think it's dependent on how long that match lasts. Because, nobody expected that Elijah and Lewis Collins match to go as long as it did.
Mm.
But, we don't know, was he having shoulder issues? Was he having cardio issues? And that's why it took that long? Or, who knows? But I think that round 3, is he going to be able to put the winner of that one away really quickly, or is that going to be a long drawn-out match? And then the finals, another long drawn-out match. So I think it's depending on what happens in round 3.
Let's so we only probably got about 15 or 20 minutes left. Let's move through the rest of the bracket. Seth versus Mario, that's a rematch. Mario probably got the better of Seth. Not probably. He got the better of Seth in their first exchange. But I don't know how that goes long term. What I like about Mario in this match specifically versus Seth, I think Mario's got good outside passing, and he's got better leg locks than Seth. I don't even know if he's got good leg locks, but his leg locks are going to be better than Seth's, right? And I think those two things combined could leave Seth vulnerable. If Mario comes in and tries to pass low, that's Seth's world. And then if Seth gets to the back or his Darce choke, those are like real killing positions for him. He's very good in all those 3 attacks.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's going to be a really good rematch, and I think one of the best first-round matchups of the night. Next match, we got Nilo versus Noah. Lindsey, what do you like about that match?
I think, Nilo's gonna set the pace that Noah can't or is not going to be able to keep up with at this point in his experience in jiu-jitsu. So I think that he's going to come out with his speed and accuracy and be able to put Noah away.
I think he's going to put him away technically, positionally, though, because I don't think you wear Noah down. He never gets.
Passing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to work on his outside passing.
He's going to work him until a hole opens, and then he's going to expose it technically. Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Probably passes the guard and takes his back, most certainly. If it goes the way a brown belt versus blue belt match is supposed to go.
Yeah, and then that next match, that bottom left corner, we've got the only brown belt versus brown belt match. We got Eric Longar versus Matt Elkins. Both guys really like to stand on their feet. Eric Longar had some of my favorite wrestling techniques. His throw-bys to the back takes or to the takedowns were incredible throughout the season. But Matt Elkins, got to talk about his wrestling.
Yeah. I think Matt's wrestling is arguably the best in the league. Jeremy looked really great too. Jeremy Geiger.
It's the best in the tournament now since Jeremy dropped out.
No question about it now. And the thing I love about the way that Matt wrestles is obviously he's wrestling, but I don't think of him like a wrestler. Like the way he doesn't. When I think of wrestling, this is probably just how I came up with it. When I think of wrestling, I think of like, I smash my head into your head and I'm going to drive through you. And that's just the way it's going to be, right? But Matt has a softness and a technical side to his wrestling that's kind of hard to find in my experience. So I like to watch him wrestle, and I think he's going to have the advantage there, even though I do agree with you. Longar's got some strong wrestling. Longar's got good top game, good passing.
He's a weird
surprisingly good passing.
He's a weird 10th Planet guy because he didn't do really any most of his work came from the top. He didn't really he wasn't a guard player. I didn't see much guard work from Eric. He actually struggled when he got on bottom. Yeah. When he was on top, he really shined. Where most 10th Planet guys, you think about the exact opposite. Yeah. So, yeah, he's definitely a strange, one of those 10th Planet guys that don't fit the stereotypical, how most people think of 10th Planet. And again, I thought he had a great season, but really tough match against Matt Elkins.
Well, Elkins is a finisher, man. I mean, he's finished 14 consecutive. He finished the move he wanted 14 consecutive times.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about his wrestling, but his jiu-jitsu is, he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
And I think the most underrated match of the season and possibly match of the season was, Matt Elkins versus Jonathan Roberts. I mean, if that match would have happened at the last night, that could have possibly ended up as the favorite of the season. I mean, we saw Jonathan get in on the legs. That's definitely Matt's biggest
hole. That was a real dramatic match, back and forth.
Very dramatic. I thought he was going to tap Matt in under a minute because he got deep on the legs immediately, and Matt made him. He didn't make the best movements right at the beginning, and I thought he was caught. But man, when he got on top and he passed Jonathan, he patiently. You talk about somebody who was talking about positionally. Matt Elkins probably is the best positional grappler in this tournament.
I would agree with that. But I do think of the higher ranked guys, he's the most vulnerable at the legs.
Yes.
And so he does have, even though he's got a stronger, like a set of strengths that is stronger than I think his peers, he also has a weakness that's weaker than his peers. So he's kind of like King Hippo. You know, if you just hit him in the belly, his pants drop. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that.
What video game is this?
That was Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Don't worry about that.
Moving on to the top right of the bracket, we got the newcomer guy jumping in for the injured Moises, Blake Randall versus the number 1 seed, the Zapatero 170-pound qualifier champion. I think that's a really big moment.
I think that's good
the
for
PGF.
us. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It really gives the PGF credit. I mean, I was listening to the broadcast and they were saying like, "Hey, this is him and Elijah Carlton, both number 1 seeds in the PGF. You guys need to tune in. Like, this is what the PGF offers." And Caleb had an amazing showing. He's going against Blake Randall, and what should be a match, in my opinion, that lasts under 3 minutes. I mean, both guys are going to come out, and they're going to come out hard.
Yeah, and like you were saying, you thought that Blake deserved a spot in the tournament, and I enjoyed watching all of Blake's matches. He always comes out, lots of intensity, and a lot of skill. I mean, you know, to be 16 years old and have already, you know, a couple.
Yeah, it's really
years
cool
of
to have
experience.
2 teenagers in this pro PGF. Like, not just like, oh, hey, we need a last second. Like, no, they earned their way in this bracket. And him and Noah should, honestly, for the rest of their lives, be really proud of the work they did this season. But this is honestly, Jonathan Roberts has the toughest path to that $1,000. It was going to be Moises, but honestly, Moises drops out, and he's got just a tough match against Matt Harrison. I mean, I said that Eric Longar and Matt Elkins was the only brown belt versus brown belt, but excuse me, with Moises dropping out, we got another brown belt versus brown belt match. And Jonathan, man, he's got a really tough path to $1,000. But Brandon, talk about Jonathan, what you learned about him this season, and what impressed you the most.
Well, he's got the best insta kill ability of anybody in the tournament. I think he can take it from he's behind to you're tapped quicker than anybody. We saw him do that against Nilo, actually. He got his guard pass, and he was at the bottom of knee on belly against Danilo, and whoosh, he popped into that. He did it against, did he do it to Elkins and miss it? He did it to somebody else, and he missed it. But, man, that setup that he hits on that inside heel hook off of knee on belly, that's one of my favorite plays that happened all season. He's a gamer, dude, and he's a game time player. And you know what I like best? He's got that old, like, he's country humble. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, you know what? I can't win this whole thing every time, but I can win it one time. And tonight's that time. You know what I mean? He's the man, dude. And he's such a cool. He's been great to have around. And, dude, he's been training as long as I have. As long as we have. So he's been in the game a long, long time, and it shows, man. So I do think that sometimes his aggressiveness puts him in bad positions. And I think that against Matt, I don't know that he's going to run into that against Matt because he doesn't – they end up with him on bottom when he gets in trouble. It doesn't end up with him on top of the closed guard when he gets in trouble. And that's going to be Matt's by far his best the Scarecrow's best opportunity to kill him. Yeah, I think that's a win for Roberts. I think that's a inside of 5 probably.
Well, I think that it's interesting because we were wondering all throughout the season, like what are going to be the consequences of him going break after break after break and not necessarily like looking for those chokes.
This is the consequence.
That's the consequence.
It's in the seeding.
Path to the final, yeah.
Yeah, because he does have that tough path. And, I mean, he's coming off of a final game where he kind of tweaks his shoulder as well. You know, he posted hard in that match of the season against Caleb McAllister, and I think was the match that everyone went, whoa. I mean, that night that he had was epic. I mean, if he would have found a way to finish Elijah, talk about giving that guy a bonus, you know. You should have given him every bonus.
He was definitely the most pleasant surprise of anyone in the tournament. I knew he was, you know, I didn't know much about him, but Keelan and Keith and Chris Connolly, my buddy Chris down at SBG, and Elkins and all those guys are like, yo, listen, this guy's really good. And, you know, the first couple of weeks, like, oh, he got him some taps and get some blue belts, okay. And as the season kept going, it was everybody that came in was getting pop, 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 pop all the way down. It was, elbow bay, dude. He's the elbow bay.
Well, I thought Ridge, because I had trained with Ridge, and I'd seen Ridge compete, you know, a few times. And so I thought Ridge was going to go in and leg lock Jonathan. I just didn't know. I just knew he was coming from that MMA SBG lineage. And so I was really expecting Ridge to come in as a black belt and, you know, loves the leg locks. I was like, oh, man, I think Ridge is going to get a pretty quick victory here. And I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, when he put Ridge away that like he did with the armbar entry, I knew that this guy was way better than I was giving. I mean, I just didn't know anything about him. I shouldn't say credit. I just literally didn't know anything about him. That was the first time I'd seen him. And, after that first tap against that black belt, he really did have an amazing season. But like you said, Lindsey, 3 points really let him down led him to now having a path that is by far the most difficult, where he's probably going to have a rematch with Caleb, and then probably a rematch with Kevin or Joe Kai, and then probably Elijah Carlton in the finals. I mean, we'll see.
Hey, you want to earn your money. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Probably the most exciting first-round match is Joe versus Matt Anderson, right?
Yeah, it's exciting in that it's going to be fun to watch, but there's no drama in it because, I mean, the chances of Matt winning are slim. They're slim. So that's probably the easiest chalk, you know, like, oh, who you picking? Like, what's the easiest pick on that side? On this side, it's definitely that one. On the other side, it's Elijah, Josh. Right. Even though Blake is the 8 seed, he's actually probably a tougher matchup than even Anderson, who's he's just a different. Well, it's a different kind. He's a cardio tough matchup, and Matt's a wow, you're big and strong matchup. You know,
the leg locks have definitely been Matt Anderson's kryptonite. It's funny. Halfway through the season, Matt Anderson's sitting at the top of that conference as the number one seed.
That was wild. That was probably the most shocking thing that was happening during the season. I was like, yo, there's a white belt.
Was so much fun when that was like, it was just like, oh my gosh, man. But then Matt got tapped one time with leg locks.
And
then a second time, and then a third time, and then a fourth, and then everyone went, okay, this is the way to beat this guy. Get in on his legs. Like, yes, he's got a scary straight ankle lock, but if you can get in, especially on a heel hook, he's going to tap, and he's going to tap quick because, look, he's here this is like his, hey, I'm just having fun. Lifting is my passion. I don't want to get injured for lifting. And so if you put him in danger down there, which Joe did, that's how Joe tapped him real quick, right when he got that heel hook. And I think that fear that Matt Anderson's going to be coming into this match with is still there, and I think Joe does get a quick heel hook.
And listen, I've heard a couple of guys, they're intimidated by Joe. Like a couple of the larger, better competitors. I'm not going to give you any names, but they're intimidated by Joe's cardio. Like Kevin as well. I've heard that about Kevin. Like, hey man, I hope I don't match up with him, kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's a fact. It's funny. Joe's
smallest.
Blake's small. Josh is small. Other than that, Joe's definitely the smallest guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he commands the respect of the whole bracket.
Yeah, no, definitely. So last match, bottom right corner, Clay versus the Liquid Terminator. Lindsey, as someone that constantly picked against Kevin during the fantasy.
I got Kevin in this one.
I don't believe
but
it.
congratulations to Clay. Didn't he get promoted?
Oh, yeah, he just got his purple belt. Clay just got his purple belt.
Congratulations to Clay.
Yeah, man. Way to go, Clay.
Yeah, so he was the 8th seed and going to face Caleb McAllister. Now coming against Kevin, and Kevin finished a rear naked choke. I think this match goes down pretty similar as it did in the regular season.
Yeah. Kevin, Clay's going to want to play a game that will play into Kevin's hands. And Kevin's going to want to be, they'll be eager to get to kind of some of the same positions, I think. And Kevin will have the size and experience on Clay in that case.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And Clay, there's really...
Oh, yeah, Kevin hit him with that one-handed choke. I forgot.
Yep.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
Yeah, Kevin got 2 chokes like that. Just pinned that wrist to the body and one arm choked. And really,
Kevin's grown.
I mean, is Kevin, let's be honest, is Kevin the underdog, like the dark horse that could honestly win this?
He's the 2 seed, and nobody thinks about him. Yeah, he's a dark horse to win it. If you don't think that Kevin can win this side of the bracket, you're crazy. Who on this side of the bracket can actually beat him? It's not the 1 seed. I mean, Caleb can beat him, but that didn't happen during the regular season. Took his back, didn't finish him. You know? So, I don't know, man. Kevin can win this thing. Yeah.
Kevin matches up the
everything.
Best against Jonathan Roberts. I really feel like Kevin and Jonathan just styles make matchups. Yeah, and I think Kevin's probably, he's got an edge in that match. I really think so. And so if Jonathan beats Caleb again, and especially if he's coming in off 2 hard matches and Kevin's in the semifinals, I think we see Kevin beat Jonathan just purely with that cardio, with with a choke. I mean, when he gets on top, you know how suffocating he is. I mean, that Sao Paulo pass is your bread and butter, and he does it better than anybody I know other than you.
He's super duper good at it. Super good at it. And we've been refining it a little bit too. We've been poking around at it. So he's getting better at it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And it's a rare pass to see in no-gi too.
Very rare.
What's up, Mark? Egghead. Jonathan Roberts. Oh, shoot. He said tough road, but I'm excited about it. The elbow bay is in the comments. Ryan Peterson said, so glad I got to grab lunch and watch this. I always enjoy watching the beautiful McCatherine. Absolutely the hottest black belt around. Also nice to see his wife. Good job, Ryan.
Yeah. I was going to ask, which one is you talking about?
I wouldn't have read it if it was about you.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the first round. So then let's just, because we're probably not everybody, but there's going to be a lot of different choices of what could happen in the next couple of rounds. Lindsey, give me your pick for semifinalist on each side of the bracket, and then let's talk at it from there. No, you got to call it. Don't think. Go.
Okay.
Hot take.
Top 4 to top 2.
Top 2 here, top 2 here.
Okay, I got
Final 4.
Elijah, Matt Elkins, Caleb, and Joe.
Caleb and Joe. All right. Elijah versus Elkins. Who you take? Go.
Elijah.
All right. And then you said
Caleb.
You take Caleb and Elijah in the final.
Yeah.
All right. With who to win?
Elijah.
Okay. I think that's the safe call. I think that's definitely the safe call. Probably the right call. If anybody's putting money on it. You trying to get me to put money on somebody else? I can't do it. But you want me to put money on Elijah? I could do that. But I don't know. I feel some kind of way about Jonathan Roberts over here, dude. I do. I feel good about him over here. I got Roberts right here. I really like. I like Caleb in this rule set because he's so. I will never ever quit. I think that's true. I think Caleb will never ever quit. I think Kevin will also never ever quit. And that might be what happens in the semifinal is that Caleb won't quit and Kevin won't quit. So
you got Caleb and Kevin. Okay.
Yeah, if I got to make a hot take, that's my hot take. Right.
And who's over here?
I can't do it. I can't pick against. I can't pick against Elbow Bay. I can't pick against Elbow Bay.
Okay.
I got to put him at least in the semifinal.
Okay.
And then him and Kevin in the semi. I think I will take Kevin there in the semi. So I'll put Kevin in my final. Oh God, this side's so hard, dude. Because Joe. I filled out my bracket before we changed. I filled it out probably 5 times, and I had, if I don't, all right, let's say Elijah gets upset, who wins? I had 5 different times, 5 brackets, 5 different guys. You know, on this side, I got Elijah and Matt in the final. I think that's a pretty easy road for both. I don't want to say easy, but it's a much easier road on this side of the bracket than over here.
I
Right,
just
Elkins
don't
will
know.
have to go through Nilo. That's a tough match.
That's my boogaboo on that side.
I still like Elkins. I get to train with Elkins every week, so I know what he's capable of, man. And if the Elkins that I think is in there really shows up, I think he can also beat Elijah. I think he's capable of beating Elijah when Elijah's healthy. Will he beat Elijah?
He said he was going to.
Yeah,
in
but
the
I don't
promo.
trust him. I don't trust him no further than I can throw him. You know what I mean? So
I think you
I'll
should
take.
go in with hair down.
I'm gonna get wild, and I'm gonna pick Elijah versus Elbow Bay
Okay.
in the final. That's what I'm
Okay.
gonna pick.
Okay.
Yes. You made me pick a winner.
Elijah still.
Okay.
Yeah, I look. I've been saying since the beginning of the season. I'll say it now. Elijah's going to win this tournament. He just is. He's especially with the path he's got. He's going to come into the semifinals fresh. I think he taps Josh, and then I think he's probably going to face Seth, but it doesn't matter. I think he's tapped Seth and Mario really quick. So he's going to be coming into that semifinal under 5 minutes on the mat. Now, I got gut says Nilo, head says Matt Elkins because he's bigger with better wrestling. So I've been going with my head, going with the bigger guy. I'm going to go with Matt Elkins versus Elijah, and I think that's still an easy matchup. Matt Elkins doesn't have the legs, and so if he's scared of the legs, it's going to be the upper body. If he's scared of the upper body, it's going to be the legs. I got Elijah winning that. And on the right side, man, this is all about matchups because Jonathan is Caleb's toughest matchup. I think Caleb matches up incredibly well with Joe and Kevin. I think he beats both of those guys. But I think Jonathan can beat Caleb. And, man,
I think I would, onto that note, I think I like Jonathan as the favorite in that matchup most of the time. Even though maybe Caleb wins this bracket more times than Jonathan does.
Yes.
Jonathan versus Caleb is... I like Jonathan in that matchup.
It's all going to come down to Jonathan's shoulder health. I don't know because, again, I knew he tweaked it. And then how fast he finishes Matt Harrison. Because if that match goes 10 minutes, he will not beat Caleb McAllister. Caleb will out-cardio him. He'll get him tired. He'll get him flat-backed, and Caleb will find a way to win. So because I think he's going to have a tougher time, I think Matt Harrison's one of the toughest guys to submit. I'm going with Caleb in that matchup. Now, I got Caleb versus Kevin in the semis. Caleb's a bad matchup for Kevin. I got Caleb going to the finals, and Elijah versus Caleb is very interesting. But again, I think Elijah's going to come in way fresher than Caleb. Caleb and Kevin is going to be an absolute war. I could see that going 20, 30 minutes, and Caleb's going to be exhausted. Elijah, fresher. He's going to find a way to win, and I think he takes Caleb's back and finishes PGF champion with a rear naked choke.
Ooh, calling the sub and everything.
It'll be a rear naked choke.
All right. On that note, y'all need to go probably. It's 11:36, so y'all can head out. I'll hang around for a little bit. I'll close everything out on this end, answer some chatty chat questions and whatnot. Great job, guys. Love y'all. Mean it. Why don't you go in and kill these two mics here, and then you can get on out of here too, and I'll wrap it up from here on the solo tip. So, right on, guys. So that's kind of the PGF roundtable discussion there. I heard a lot of good comments there, Keelan, about the setup. They said it looked cozy. So now that Lindsey's gone, we usually have a mirror back there. This is at our house over here. We usually got a mirror back there. We had to move it because it was reflecting all funky and stuff. But yeah, man. So if you guys got any questions or you need, what's up? Keelan is in.
Hello, people.
Okay, now we're in business. You got any thoughts you want to share with these fine folks here?
That was our first sit down roundtable sports center kind of thing about our league, so that was cool. We did it on the same little setup we normally do. So at the beginning, when I added a couple clips like Elijah's highlight reel while y'all were talking about him, the sound cut off for a minute, but we fixed it after a couple of tries. We're always making improvements, guys. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. I thought it went pretty good, especially towards the end. That was fun. Just breaking down the brackets, getting to look at it a different way, and
Yeah,
I'm pumped for Friday, man.
right on, dude. what was it, the AFV thing, right? The always follow video. I know that's nerdy stuff. I don't care.
It gets set to mute others every time you add a video, so I had to turn that off every single time.
It's a preference in there?
Yes. But once you turn it off, it's off for that video forever, so I can add the video up whenever I wanted after that. Fixed now.
Or so we think.
Future videos will be better. Yo, I can't wait for y'all to see the finale set up. And
it's
just
so incredible.
How it's going to look. It's going to be super profesh. I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't think that, we've been shooting it in the gym because we had to have a venue that we could afford every week, right?
Yeah.
And by we could afford, I mean me. So here's how much of a venue I can afford every week. None. So I just took the one I already had. We got bleachers up there, so the idea was just to have each week up there and, $5-10 a head and everybody can watch on the bleachers, oops, global pandemic. So no audience, but this one for the final, we got 1,000 seats in the crowd. Obviously, we won't be selling 1,000 tickets to a jiu-jitsu tournament in Decatur, Alabama.
Not in season 1.
Right. But, we may end up with somewhere around 200 in the crowd is what I'm kind of vibing with. And those 200 people are going to be blown away. And I think if you guys watch on the stream is going to look, it's obviously going to be in a different location. It's going to
look better.
It's going to look better.
Just because of the fancy lights and good production value.
Yeah. But it's going to be the live experience that really puts this thing together.
You're going to want to be there.
What do you think about the addition of the stalling?
I'm into it, man. 2 aspects, of course. One aspect, I'm the cameraman, so I ain't trying to be there all night.
I think it's pretty important, actually, that let's go right up front with motivation.
Dude,
you know how I am. I like to lead. I like you to know what's under the hood.
Look,
I ain't trying to be there all night.
I record all of these wonderful jiu-jitsu shots on a gimbal that is wireless so that I can move properly with the action. That means I use batteries to power my equipment. Batteries die, okay? So submission only, no time limit, makes my camera brain go, So stalling calls is definitely, I'm into it as far as that goes. Now, as far as like jiu-jitsu competition goes, I'm into it in that aspect as well. I think that we didn't need them, obviously, for the season because it's 6-minute matches and there's no points for losing. So everybody was going for it, and you could see it in the turnout of how many submissions we had each night. People were going for it. And I think whenever you know that there's a potential for a stalling call that can, increase your pace, make you not sit there when normally you would. I do think that, like, going against Elijah, you obviously want to draw him out, get him in the deep water. So, like, you're going to have to maybe approach the stalling calls, maybe get a warning or two,
Yeah, I'm gonna ease them into it.
And it's not going to stand them up. Like, if you get a stalling call, it doesn't stand you up and reset the position. Like, you're fine. Keep working. Like, if you want to get a stall or two, that's fine. You play your game, I think
but we're not going to intervene. We're not going to stop the pace of we're not going to stop the match at all.
Yeah, I think I'm super into it.
Wallow says he's got a camera with 6 batteries as a backup if you want it.
6 batteries as a backup. We could probably definitely use it. And he said he was going to be here.
Bring it.
You should bring it.
Not only going to be here, not only is he going to be here, dude. He's going to be the ring announcer.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. So when I make the stalling call, you think I should just have a wireless mic and I should make it over the loudspeaker from wherever I'm at? Like I'm coming in.
Ooh, and they hear the commission. They're like, oh,
yo, that's stalling. This is your first and final warning.
I'm into that.
And then if it stays hairy down there, there's nothing going on.
Ooh, you should be close.
I just come in, Chuck, give him the card over the loudspeaker. Oh!
You should be close to the booth back there by the light guy. So whenever you're about to give a stalling call, you tap him, and he can make all the
and the
lights
lights
go
do
red.
something crazy. Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a really smart idea.
Production value.
Dude, I'm definitely going to do it that way.
Sure.
The lights are going to go red.
Stalling number
Stalling. They'll just like flash. Burp, burp, burp. Or the lights go yellow to indicate a yellow card.
There you go.
Okay, I'm into it.
Yeah. My camera's got 10 backup batteries, and I'm still like,
Dang.
do
Why
I
did you have to
enough?
flex on Wallow so hard right there?
No, I mean it's just
He's
like,
got 60% of the batteries you got. That's what you're letting him know. He said
I
you're
was-
also 60% of the man.
I was
that he
just
is.
saying that with endless batteries, I'm still like, oh, man, I hate the battery situation with no time limit. It's gonna be different. I think there will be times where, for example, I think that I've got enough battery to film the whole match, and we start, and 20 minutes goes by, and I'm like, oh snap, is
No
this
good.
So I'm going to have to communicate with the booth up there and maybe switch to the stationary tripod cameras that the place has
Yeah.
while I go switch batteries real quick. So there might
Yeah,
be
we should
times
be
like
good to
that
go, though.
in between matches where that it may stop being a gimbal shot and go into the stationary shot.
I don't think that's going to be a big issue. We got telling
gonna
about
look
these
good
nice
regardless.
cams we got, these nice new ones.
Yeah, so the stationary cameras that I'm referring to are going to be
They're television production
they're
quality.
just like whenever you see EBI or flow grappling or any of these other jiu-jitsu tournaments when they have the stage in the middle and the crowd surrounds them and they've got a camera on each side of the mats and it switches to that camera, for the action. We've got those cameras as well. So we're not going to be just stuck to a gimbal this time. Most of the shots will be on the gimbal because in my opinion it's better for the action, but we will
It's definitely better for the
we
action.
will have the television fancy.
And it gives our
stuff.
our tournament a unique look
I agree.
that other tournaments don't have.
And think about the highlight reel.
Wallow said he's got a gimbal. You got a gimbal for the cam, like for the DSLR?
Probably.
That would be dope if you got that.
A little back
Bring
up.
it on. Yeah, bring it. I mean, whatever you got, dude, bring it. We're looking. What do you think's the next, like, what do you see happening next with the PGF? Like, we're here at the end, dude. Like, I'm happy that, like, we made it to the end. I'm really happy that there's going to be some closure on it. But in a lot of ways, I'm a little bit sad that it's over. And you know how I am. I'm already on to the next, not just season 2. You know how I do it, dude. I got season 2. I got special events in my brain.
Yeah. So I think season 1 is almost complete. Season 2 is, next season. I think in that downtime and the off season, we run a couple PGF solo tournaments.
Yeah,
whether
special
it's the game of
events.
21, whether it's this or that, and then that's everybody's off-season practice, and then season 2 starts. We're already about to crown a 225 champ for season 2.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing a tournament like that to crown the other weight classes too.
I think
Like
we
just
could.
one
So we
event
go
at a
ahead
time.
And during the off-season, go ahead and crown a couple PGF champs.
Well, we just got every weight class eventually,
Yeah.
and then we moved into season 2, just to build some stank on it.
Each
I don't
tournament
know.
will be done in the nice production facility.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you guys are going to be blown away by what happens on Friday when you see this.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's a totally new experience.
And it's not. I think that that's not just gonna be for the finale moving forward. I think we might have a better setup moving forward. So
Yeah,
dun dun dun.
big stuff coming.
PGF, it's getting pretty legit around.
Yeah, it's
kind of
crazy. Yeah, eventually, Fight Pass is going to be like, yo, y'all trying to get on Fight Pass? And we'll be like, I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, let me.
We'll
think
see what
about it,
happens.
yes.
I got stuff going on. I'll call you maybe tomorrow or something. That's what I'll say to Fight Pass.
I'll get my guy to get in touch with them.
Well, I feel good about the way the fireside went. I'm already thinking about how I could just leave this all set up here and just get some new stuff to take for the production,
Yeah, for the next ESPN, I want a camera right there and a camera right here, and they're like solo. So when you start talking, it like
Yeah.
solos on you.
Oh,
know?
yeah.
And when I start talking, it switches and solos
Yeah,
on
we
me.
need that. Hey, we're growing.
Yeah. Maybe a screen back here.
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe a picture of me.
Okay.
I'm just saying there's a lot of possibilities. All right, guys, that's it. We're going to get out of here.
Thanks for tuning in.
Friday night, 5 o'clock Central.